Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. US President Donald Trump has said that if Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, the United States of America will come to their rescue. This follows the deaths of several people as Iran's biggest protests in 3 years over economic hardship turned violent across multiple provinces. The clashes between protesters and security forces mark a significant escalation in the unrest that has spread across the country since shopkeepers began protesting on Sunday over the government's handling of a sharp currency slide and rapidly rising prices. Meanwhile, a senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader has warned that US interference in Iran's protests would trigger chaos across the region. Ali Larijani said Americans should know President Trump started the adventurism and should watch over their soldiers. He spoke after Washington warned it would act if lethal force is used, as unrest over economic hardship turns deadly. Swiss authorities are working to identify victims after a deadly fire tore through a packed bar during New Year's Eve celebrations in the ski resort of Crans-Montana. Swiss forensic officials say identifying victims is a nightmare after severe burns left bodies unrecognizable. Around 40 people were killed and more than 100 injured, with authorities warning it could take days to confirm all identities. Emanuele Galippini, a 16-year-old Italian international golfer who lived in Dubai, has been named as the first of several possible victims from Italy to be identified after a New Year's Eve bar fire in the Swiss ski resort of Crans-Montana. The Italian Golf Federation said it mourns the passing of Emanuele Galippini, a young athlete who carried with him passion and genuine values. Italy's ambassador to Switzerland said earlier that 6 Italians were missing and 13 were in hospital receiving treatment for their injuries. A strong earthquake struck southern Mexico on Friday, briefly interrupting President Claudia Sheinbaum's daily press conference as alarms sounded in Mexico City. The 6.5 magnitude quake hit near the Pacific coast in Guerrero State, with officials reporting no immediate casualties or major damage. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan says he will speak with US President Donald Trump on Monday to discuss efforts to end the war in Ukraine and the situation in Gaza. Erdogan also said Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan will attend a meeting of countries backing Ukraine in Paris. Meanwhile, actress Angelina Jolie has visited Egypt's Rafah crossing and a hospital in Arish, treating Palestinians evacuated from Gaza. The visit comes as uncertainty surrounds the next phase of the Gaza ceasefire, with Israel and Hamas accusing each other of breaching the deal. Ukraine's military intelligence chief, Kirilo Budanov, says he has accepted President Volodymyr Zelensky's offer to become presidential chief of staff. If formally appointed, Budanov would replace Andriy Yermak, who stepped down last month amid a corruption probe. At least 9 people have died and more than 200 have been hospitalized in the Indian city of Indore after a diarrhea outbreak that officials said was linked to contaminated drinking water. Kailash Vijayvargiya, a lawmaker, said 9 people had died in Indore. Indore's chief medical officer said drinking water was contaminated due to a leak, and a water test had confirmed the presence of bacteria in the pipeline. Canada's transport regulator has asked Air India to investigate an incident of a pilot who was removed from a plane before it was due to take off and found to be under the influence of alcohol. A person familiar with the matter said 2 breathalyzer tests conducted by Canadian police at Vancouver International Airport showed the pilot was unfit for duty. Air India said an alternate pilot was brought in to operate the flight. Democrat Zohran Mamdani has become New York City's mayor vowing during a public swearing-in ceremony on the steps of City Hall to enact an aggressive agenda aimed at making the nation's largest city more affordable for working people. In a speech following his public swearing-in, Mamdani, a member of his party's left-wing Democratic Socialist faction, promoted core campaign promises of universal childcare, affordable rents, and free bus service. He said he was elected as a Democratic Socialist and will govern as a Democratic Socialist. Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro has extended an olive branch to US President Donald Trump, proposing serious talks on combating drug trafficking and offering US companies ready access to Venezuelan oil. Maduro said Venezuela was a brother country to the United States and a friendly government. He noted that when he and Trump last spoke in November, the US president had acknowledged his authority by addressing him as Mr. President. Venezuela's government has freed 88 more people detained after protests that followed the South American nation's July 2024 election, marking the second mass release in as many weeks amid US pressure on the government of President Nicolás Maduro. The New Year's Day release follows the government's announcement that it released 99 people on December 26th, which would bring a total of 187 people released in 2 weeks. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.